Hello, welcome to another Becoming a Modern Man. We are playing our Hollow 1 deck once again. This time we're running up against the red-green zoo deck. So this is our opener. A Street Wraith, a Bloodghast, an Angler, and a Flamewake Phoenix. I believe I keep this. I think the more I play with the deck, the more I think any hand that doesn't have some sort of discard spell in it isn't really worth keeping. I mean, we've got something to do. We can run out a turn 2 Bloodghast, I guess, and I suppose potentially we could hard cast a Flamewake Phoenix if needs be. So it's not the worst hand, but really we want to be looking for having a discard spell of some description. Our opening hand, ideally. So we just lead off with a fetch land. I also don't cycle the Street Wraith, which is probably a mistake as well. So we get Blood Crit. Our opponent leads off with an Experiment 1. I'm going to cycle Street Wraith now, but it only gets us into a fetch land. We've drawn a Fiery Temper, which is okay, but not great. Kind of want to do something with this turn, so I think we're going to crack the fetch and play the Bloodghast. Just so we're doing something, but this isn't a great start for us. Opponent's going to play a Hidden Herbalist. He's going to evolve the Experiment 1 and then play another Experiment 1. Attack me for 2. Going to attack here with the Bloodghast, but doesn't have any good blocks, and Bloodghast can't block anyway. We draw a Lightning Bolt, which is kind of good. We can obviously kill off some creatures with this burn that we've got in hand, which is good because his deck is very creature focused. He's going to attack here. I think he's got the Atarka's command, which is going to hit us for quite a lot. So 3 damage to us and +1/+1 to all of his creatures. I'm going to bolt the bigger Experiment 1. Not do quite as much, but we're still going to take 5 from his creatures and go down to 4 here. So it's pretty tight. We draw a Burning Inquiry. I think we're going to cast here and just see what happens. If we discard the Fiery Temper, we might be able to cast that. Flamewake Phoenix, obviously, we would like to have in the graveyard. We don't want to lose the Angler, but we've kind of got to take a chance here and see what happens. So we do end up discarding the Phoenix, a Reunion, and a Lightning Bolt. And the Fiery Temper, and drawing into some lands, and another Burning Inquiry. So we're going to be able to use the Madness on Fiery Temper to kill off the Herbalist. And we've also got enough cards in our graveyard to cast this Angler. Could have cracked the fetch and put Flamewake Phoenix into play, but not comfortable against a deck that's going to have Lightning Bolts and has Atarka's command going down to 3, so I wasn't really up for that. Drops Kirdape, evolves the Experiment 1. We draw another Lightning Bolt, which is good. It's going to clear the way for an attack. We kill off the Kirdape, which means we now have a decent Bloodghast attack. We can attack for 4 here. So I won't go down to 6. I like Burning Inquiry here. I don't think it's actually a good idea in hindsight, because basically 2 burn spells will kill us. It turns out our opponent has 1 burn spell, and presumably doesn't have the other one, otherwise he would have probably killed us earlier. So I think the Burning Inquiry is probably a little bit too risky in hindsight. We just discard Call to the Netherworld off the Inquiry, which can get us back a Street Wraith, which isn't particularly useful here, but he's just an extra card in hand. And we've drawn into a Fiery Temper, but that doesn't. So, actually, which is fairly important because we can actually finish our opponent off here and not give him another draw step. So, yeah, we tack in, and the Fiery Temper finishes the game off. So we managed to pull that back. As I say, our starting hand was a bit sketchy, but we got enough burn to kill off his guys, and we managed to just about stay alive long enough to finish the game off and beat our opponent. So yeah, bit of a close one, but managed to edge it out. Let's go on to game 2. So this is our opener again. Played this game a while back. I think the more I've played with this deck, the more I think that hands without discard spells just aren't very good. I mean, we've got a 1-drop, but I haven't got any ways to discard any spells to make Flameblade Adept particularly good. I guess I like the burn. The burn obviously is fairly good in this this particular matchup. We can kill off their creatures and then get our own thing going. We've got a much better long game than they do. So I guess that was the thought behind my keep. Well, there's an Experiment 1 and then a Curd Ape, evolving both Experiment 1s. Attacks us for 2. Draw into an Angler, which isn't particularly great at this moment in time. Might be later though. Well, it's Hidden Herbalist into a Wildcottle. I'm going to respond and bolt the one of the Experiment 1s, so he can't get 2 counters on it and then be able to regenerate it. But he's going to be able to hit in for 5 here, which is pretty bad for us. Going to crack and get a fetch. Crack our fetch rather, and get a Blood Crypt. We draw Bloodghast, again not very good. And we are looking like we're going to have some difficulties here. A block here, I didn't end up... I was going to Fiery Temper while on the Cottle, but I was concerned about Atarka's command. Probably should have just gone for it, given that we're probably just dead to Atarka's command anyway. Opponent plays another Hidden Herbalist. And we draw a Flameblade Adept, so yeah, it didn't go well. I guess I was banking on those burn spells to sort of see us through, but our opponent had a really fast hand and kind of wiped the floor with us a little bit too quickly. So let's go into game 3. See if we can do a little bit better. Okay, so this hand is a lot better actually. So we've got our Flameblade Adept we can lead off with. We've got 2 Faithless Looting, so we've got plenty of discard in hand. We've got Hollow One and our Gurmag Angler, so we've got 2 of our top threats. Seems likely that we're going to be able to get a Hollow One in on turn 2. If we really wanted to hedge our bets, we could try and Faithless Looting on turn 1 and see if we draw into a Street Wraith so we can cast a turn 1 Hollow One. But I think I'd prefer just trying to lead off with the Adept and go from there. So I'm going to crack a fetch, play the Adept, pass to our opponent. Let's go play an Experiment 1. So we draw into Burning Inquiry, which we could also use, but I don't really want to accidentally discard Hollow One and Gurmag Angler. And as it stands, we can double Faithless Looting, which is enough to cast the Hollow One for free, and gives us a bit of a more of a controlled approach to our discard. So we draw into 2 Lightning Bolts. Lightning Bolt's obviously good, but it's of the cards we've got, we need our land. We definitely want to pass the second Faithless Looting, and we don't really want to pitch either of our big threats. So I think we end up pitching one of the Lightning Bolts and one of the Inquiries, and the Inquiry. Inquiry is good. It's a good way of pumping our Flameblade Adept, but I think we can probably got a pretty good chance of casting both our big threats here. So and that's going to make our opponent's life very difficult as well. So we cast a second Looting. We draw into Fetchland Cathartic Reunion. So I think we're probably going to discard the 2 cards we drew. Lightning Bolt will be useful to kill off one of his dudes, and I'm going to cast the Hollow One, and then maybe set up for the Gurmag Angler to come down next turn. So yeah, we discarded 4 cards, which means we can attack for 5 with the Flameblade Adept. And it has Menace, so people can't block. Also, people try and block and then realise it won't let you block. Menace means it has to be blocked by 2 or more creatures, so it is quite difficult to block, which is one of the big upsides of the card. So feeling pretty good about our position. We got 4/4. His creatures don't really get much bigger than 3/3s without some sort of assistance. So we've got a good blocker if we need, or we can go on the offensive depending on how our opponent's hand turns out. So he attacks with, he plays 2 Curd Apes, which gets a double evolve on Experiment 1. I'm going to cycle my Street Wraith here. Finds there's a Fiery Temper, and we're just going to attack. See, our opponent wants to block. I mean, potentially you could double block with the hollow one with the Curd Ape. But yeah, I'm kind of looking to see how he blocks, and then potentially going to use this Lightning Bolt to make that less of a good block. I kind of mess up here because I end up Lightning Bolt the Experiment 1 on the basis that I can kill it after the counters are removed, but regeneration pulls it out of combat, so this was a mistake here. Should have killed one of the Curd Apes. Doesn't really matter which one, I guess. So yeah, one of those guys should have died, but instead we ended up putting the Experiment 1 and getting it to regen. The plan was to get it to regen and then kill it with the damage, but that's not quite how that works, because regen, as I say, takes it out of combat. So opponent has a couple of Goblin Guides here, which is a little bit scary. But he's on 9, so we can kill him with the Crackback. He attacks with 4. My assumption is this attack is based on the fact that he has a Lightning Bolt in hand. He hasn't played his land for the turn, and he's attacking with two 2/2s. So I don't know what, wrong or right. I assume that this is a setup for a Lightning Bolt to kill off my Angler, which would be a problematic. So I decided just not to take the block, and obviously I'm able to attack for lethal next turn. Turns out he doesn't have a land, which obviously helps us out quite a bit. And I'm going to be able to attack for 9. Takes 4 and then chumps. I'm Burning Inquiry, which draws us into a Flameblade Adept, and we discard the Fiery Temper with Madness, which allows us to kill off the Experiment 1. We should have already been dead, so there is that, but our opponent plays a Burning Tree Emissary, Tarkus Command, which is going to get us pretty close to dead here. We're going to go down to 2 here. Get to Faithless Looting, which pitches a Bloodghast and a Flamewake Phoenix into the yard, but we don't have a land to bring back the Bloodghast, unfortunately. We will be able to bring back the Flamewake Phoenix though. So I'm going to return that from the graveyard at the beginning of combat, and attack all in here. So yeah, our opponent would have taken 6 there and died. Tried to fake out the Lightning Bolt, but he doesn't have it. And yeah, that was slightly closer than it needed to be. As I say, if we hadn't messed up with the Experiment 1, he probably wouldn't have had the same chances that he did, because at least he'd have had 1 fewer creature. But yeah, a close one, but we did manage to win out. I think this matchup's fairly reasonable. I'd say the burn's very useful to get rid of their creatures and clear them out, and then after that our creatures are substantially bigger than theirs, so as long as we can prevent them from going too wide, I think we have a good chance. It's just really to watch out for burn, and I suppose you just got to try and get yourself a decent board presence on down early, and sort of make sure that you're know when you're the aggro and when you're not the aggro as much as possible. So yeah, slightly tricky one. It was pretty close, but I don't hate this matchup for us. It seems like it was fairly reasonable, and I don't know, I wouldn't say necessarily favoured. They can do some pretty crazy stuff in the sort of the same vein as we can, dropping a load of creatures, going pretty wide and being pretty aggressive, but our creatures are a lot bigger, which means that if we do have to go on the defensive, we can do. So, yeah, reasonable matchup.